The Nintendo Switch 2 is still trash, and you will still buy it. The Switch 2 was overpriced, had no games at all. It looks terrible. It sounds like I'm reading a headline from something that's going to occur in the next 2 years. Why did you buy one? Well, first of all, it starts out in the early days of what Nintendo really was. You like to believe that Nintendo's the greatest corporation in the world. Notice how I'm not using the term company? Corporation. Just another form of government to dictate what you're going to buy, what you're going to like, and what you're going to even hate. Thinking that there's proper competition in the business, thinking that they're the only thing worth your time. It's never been true. Not even close. Let's talk about some of the beginnings of what Nintendo started failing at. And I don't even really hate Nintendo. I just think this is ridiculous of how bad things have gotten, especially with this new console out. I think Nintendo has made a lot of mistakes. A lot of mistakes that don't get talked about enough. One of them is the Nintendo PlayStation. How do you botch one of the greatest business deals that could have ever come to your company? Could you imagine Sony and Nintendo being one company? Is it even fathomable in your mind to think that they could have been one company ruling pretty much over everything? I don't even know if Microsoft would have went into the gaming business as hard as they went if their competition was Nintendo and Sony as one company. But someone in this business decision decided to muck it all up, and then they created their own competition out of it. Brilliant move, I gotta say. It's like Sherlock Holmes making Moriarty. And Nintendo fans just eat it up. I mean, look at the Virtua Boy. Everyone just says it's ahead of its time. No, it was a bad idea when it first started. It wasn't a fully formed idea. Clearly the black and red and looking in a visor causing yourself to get headaches, and the games that you even play on it was terrible. It was a bad idea. It's like one of those film reel things that you scroll on top to see pictures of pyramids at Giza or the Eiffel Tower in France. Are you out of your mind? You guys just want to eat this stuff up. Do you even care? You care about the quality of your games anymore, let alone your consoles? I mean, look at the GameCube and N64, man. I like both of these consoles. I don't hate them. I played them when I was younger, but there are bad things about them. And it's not simply innovation for innovation's sake. Everyone knew cartridge-based gaming was going to go out of style. As soon as the PlayStation came out, it was over. For sure. I'm not saying the PlayStation was the first console to create CDs or use CDs for their video games. Hey, remember the Sega CD add-on? Wow, that's crazy. It's like the whole gaming industry should have been going towards CD than using cartridges so they could easily transport their game onto the disc and be able to store much more data. Hey, a method we still use to what? This day, 30 years later. But no, Nintendo's got to be stubborn. We got to be different for the sake of being different. And actually, that's not even innovation. That's literally being stubborn and being set in your old ways. Not moving forward with your life. And Nintendo fans ate it up. Look at the sales. Even Nintendo fans knew back then it wasn't that great. Look at the Japanese sales specifically. America's the one that gives the most sales to most video game consoles in the modern era, let alone any console of any era. And you look at the Japanese sales and wonder why it did so poorly in their own country. Their own product in their own country did not do well. Americans are the ones that prop it up the most, not the Japanese. Not even close. Not saying they don't like it, but if you don't like something, you usually don't buy it. Come on, man. And especially with the N64's controller design, it was not the best. It was awful. I don't know why you look at a Namco game like Galaga and think that should be a controller design. It seems to be there's no reconciliation, or a council meeting to determine whether or not this should be good or bad. It just simply was. Yeah, we'll just do it. Whatever. That's not innovation. That's regression. De-evolution, some would say. It's not good at all. It wasn't adapting to anything. Hell, it was a sacrifice for nothing. And now we got to go to the GameCube. The GameCube is the next console that came on the list. It's got even a handle on it. Not one of the best-selling consoles ever. Not even close. Got absolutely smoked by the PS2. I feel bad for it. I feel pity for it to have to compete against the greatest console of all time. And even the GameCube during that period of time was backwards in some of its ideas. It wasn't innovation to make smaller CDs. That's just a bad idea because now you lock yourself out of trying to play other forms of media. And what was some of the most important media during that period of time? Movies. Music. The internet back then was not as big as it is now. Music and movies were still huge, and we're finally getting out of the VHS era and into the DVD era, which is something that should have happened earlier, but it sort of did with laser discs. But those were really too massive, and you had to flip both sides in order to get both sides of the movie because it could only store so much data on it. Then again, Nintendo making a poor decision and not having great sales. You'd think Nintendo should be able to just get a home run every console they make, but it's never been true. Look at the NES and SNES sales and compare it to the PlayStation sales. The PlayStation PS2 together is like 250 mil combined. That smokes like the first 4 Nintendo consoles easily. But I want to be fair to Nintendo as well. They made the Game Boy and the Game Boy Color. They made the Game Boy Advance and Game Boy Advance SP. They made the Nintendo DS. They made good, competent consoles that had great backwards compatibility. Man, it's really hard to play my N64 games on the GameCube. Wow, crazy that the DS could do that, but the GameCube couldn't. I gotta buy 5 billion add-ons just to make it work? Thanks. I don't want that. Build it in. Build it in. That should just be the method of video game making or any company. Build it in. Backwards compatibility is one of the most important features of any video game console and helps its longevity more so than anything else, I'd argue. Besides its games, obviously, and even controller design could be mitigated, as it's been very clear with the N64. Hell, even the Dreamcast, but obviously the Dreamcast had other issues. But this is specifically about Nintendo. And then came the Wii. And the Wii, I don't think I can really dunk on, but it lived off its gimmick, the motion gimmick. Anyone from the smallest to the tallest to the youngest to the oldest wanted to play it simply because you could move a stick around. It was such a good concept that even PlayStation tried to copy it, and even to the extent of Xbox Kinect, but that's more with the human body than it is with a remote control. And Nintendo fans ate it up. Ate it up. I mean, Nintendo had good marketing back then, and they ate it up. They loved it. They enjoyed it. They think it was the most succulent dish they've ever experienced in their entire life, scarfing it down as if there was their last meal on death row. And then the Wii U came out. Uh-oh. And then the Wii U came out, and it was a disaster. One of the worst-selling consoles of all time for its era. Still, to this day, it might also just be the Virtua Boy 2 of how poor the sales was in terms of a video game boom era. We're talking about the PS2 was still around when the Wii U came out. It wasn't decommissioned yet. It wasn't out of style. They were still making games for it. Hell, they still made games for it even after they discontinued the PS2 console. Isn't that insane? We don't talk about stuff like that anymore when things just go away and they're still making games for it. But Nintendo's always been like that in the modern era, and Nintendo fans like to hang on to nostalgia. That's why I don't like them too much. They rely too much on nostalgia to dictate what the modern product is, instead of realizing that the modern product isn't like the old products anymore. The soul's gone. The people are gone. But this leads all us to the first reveal of the Switch 2. The Switch 2, on reveal, was already a mistake. I could argue the Wii U was a mistake when it was revealed. What, at E3 at a direct of some sort? It was dead on arrival. But they didn't care. They didn't want to make any changes because Nintendo has always been stuck in their ways. They do not care as much as you like to believe they do. You care more than they care. You have been shown to care more with your consumerism, but it didn't change anything. You just made things worse, and you didn't realize it. And the Switch 2 being $449.99 on release. Are you insane? Nintendo wanting $449.99 for the Switch 2 was outrageous, and that was the reveal price. Trust me, this had nothing to do with tariffs. Nintendo was going to be like this since day one. They have been in the market of making ridiculous prices in the modern era. When Iwata died, and when Reggie leaves your company, you know things are going in the gutter. The Switch was a major indicator that things are going in the gutter. We're removing the Nintendo 3DS store, that you can't access it. You can't get downloadable games off of it anymore. It's over. You might as well have realized that the Switch was just there to kill off the mobile market for itself, because they just want to build it all in one, which would have been a smart idea 30 years ago, before the Game Boy existed. This would have been a good idea before the Game Boy existed, but instead of now being in two markets, you combine both markets into one. That's why the Switch sales are so high too, because it is mobile. It is a gimmick console, as I like to call it, just like the Wii was. It has one gimmick and it does it well. Good enough for anyone to play and anyone that wants to play it. But even like I said, the Switch 1 had issues with its battery. They had to make another model just for the battery. Are you out of your mind? You think you should put that in the blueprint, that maybe that the mobility of your console needs to rely heavily on its battery to be powered, to be useful, to be utilized in such a way that you don't sit there regret sitting in a bus, train, or anywhere outside of your home, just carrying something around that's pretty much a paperweight. Dead weight to you. If you want to gain a little bit of muscle carrying around, go ahead. But I don't think that's what it was designed to be. But then again, Nintendo and all their developers, their blueprinters, their designers, their engineers, they would convince me otherwise. I don't know what the shareholders think that this company is, but it sure as hell ain't a video game company anymore. It's just a corporation. Just another form of business, another form of control, another form of dreading green, burning it up as much as you can. One of the most enlightening things I've ever seen about Nintendo was seeing an article that talked about Nintendo could lose so much money in 30 years and they'd still be in the green. They'd still be completely fine. And it's like, that told me everything, and that was an article over a decade ago. That's when I really knew that it just didn't matter anymore. Who cares if you're innovating things? You're not making things better. Innovation for innovation's sake will never be good. I've said this 1,000 times. Just because something's different doesn't make it good. Just because something's unique doesn't make it good. If a kid is the only one in class that has cancer, does he magically become the greatest man to ever walk the face of the earth? Does he magically become the greatest person to ever walk the face of the earth? Some things are at a detriment because they're unique. Some things are at a detriment because they're different. A lot of people just don't want to admit that with these video game companies, let alone in life. They have a hard time conceptualizing such things. Their fanaticism runs so knee-deep in bias, they could never see the truth ever. They are swamped and drowned in bias, that there is no light to pierce the bias in order for them to get a proper perspective of what modern gaming is like now, let alone 10 years ago. The mistakes and cracks in the company were being done decades ago, but no one cared back then. We're willing to accept those mistakes. It's just Nintendo innovating. It's just Nintendo trying to make new things. Yeah, is that why everything's overpriced? What release games were worth it on the Nintendo Switch 2? Mario Kart World? I want you should go look back at some older consoles that had better release titles than this. The GameCube, the N64, the Wii for crying out loud. The Wii, known for being graphically behind the two other juggernauts in the business, the PS3 and the Xbox 360. One of them having online for free and then not doing it for the PS4. Sony, you greedy bastards. Despise them to this day for making that decision, because I know they just wanted to get on the gravy train, as they all do. You know, we like to believe everything's a competition, but Xbox bowing out of the game just proved to me they don't care about competing. They're all in business with each other, shaking hands, sharing blueprints. It's just a safe face. Don't even try it with me. This form of capitalism is so bloated. It's hard to determine whether or not a company is even American or Japanese, because they're so bloated they might as well just be obese. They might as well be stereotypical American with how obese and bloated their companies are. I'm surprised there hasn't been even more layoffs than there already has been, but that already showed how bloated it was, didn't it? And the design is just the same as the Switch 1. There's barely much of a difference. Ooh, let's just have a little pinch in there with the controllers. That's a really good design. That won't break or snap off with this magnetism. No way, shape, or form. Oh, wait. There's even more problems appearing now that there's overheating, too? Great. I love it. Thanks. I'm so glad I paid $449.99 for this. And not only that, having to pay $70 to $80 for new games. Don't you love handicap basketball? Wow, remember Wii Sports had multiple sports in the game? Remember Wii Sports Resort had multiple sports in the game? Screw that. You could just play one sport, and you're handicapped in it. Not saying it's a bad thing if it's fun, but you only get one sport. You can't even play archery. You can't play tennis. You can't play other sports as far as I know, especially when they're just showing the trailer that it's basketball. It's just basketball. That's it? That's all you're giving us? Thanks, Nintendo. Great stuff, buddy. I'm glad you're giving us some of the best release titles ever. Not even a new Zelda. Metroid's coming out, but it's not a release title. Donkey Kong 1 is even a release title. It came out. It's going to come out this month, or it already came out. I don't even care at this point. How can I? I wanted to care. Things were reasonable. I wanted to. I'm a content creator. I'm a YouTuber. This would be great for business, but no, I got to step down and say, this is a bad idea. It's not going to work out, but it just ain't worth the interest. It ain't worth the money. It ain't worth the concept, the principle. It ain't worth supporting Nintendo the way they act these days. My goodness, let alone any other subsidiary they have under their thumb trying to make proper games. Game Freak. Oh yeah, we'll just make a Stellar Blade-esque, Black Myth Wukong-esque Ghost of Tsushima game out of nowhere after decades of being underneath the Pokemon Company and underneath Nintendo's iron fist. I tell you what, they're both in on it. You can have some pity for Game Freak if you want, but that's also a symptom of modern gaming. They just don't care to make good games anymore. They just simply don't care. Oh my goodness, and the terrible hardware of the Switch 2. Overheating. There was no course correction from Nintendo from the release date to when it was released. From the first reveal to the release date, there was no course correction. Screw it, we'll keep it the same price, whatever. We do not care, says Nintendo. You know, I'd respect it more if they were open about it. I'd still hate it. Hell, I might even gain more hatred because of it. But no, we gotta sit there and saunter around a dead corpse of a company, it seems like. Gotta save face when there's no face of the company anymore. Miyamoto's dying, man. Sakurai's dying, man. Iwata's gone. Reggie Fils-Aimé decides, screw it, I'm gone. Doug Bowser? Really? Who do you want? You want someone from Nintendo of America to represent him? That wasn't Reggie Fils-Aimé? Come on, man. It's already over. It's already over. But I can't believe that there's even more issues with AAA games being unoptimized and not being able to run on the current hardware of the Switch 2. Planned obsolescence, it seems like. Now, we'll just cover it up in a software patch, just like they did with the Switch 1 when it had the broken screens and stuff. We'll just make a new model instead. You know, better battery. Here's an OLED model. Don't you love that OLED model? Don't you love burn-in? The potentials of burn-in on games you weren't even playing anyways. Awesome stuff. Great. Thanks, Nintendo. You're the best. I mean, this is just a video dunking on the Switch 2, but they're all bad. It was like that one online shopping moment. I think it was on eBay where the dude just bought the Xbox box and thought it was a new console. That's what it feels like in the modern era. It's like I bought this console and I open up, there's nothing inside. I'm just holding it. It's like buying something on loan. That's what it feels like, especially when modern games or games in general now seem like just care about licensing than you actually owning anything. You will own nothing and be happy. Why aren't you smiling? I don't understand. I thought you wanted this. I thought you tolerated this to deserve this, to earn this for yourself. All that hard-earned money going into this. Beautiful. Oh my goodness. Such a disaster piece. How could you not watch it? You might as well just be Nero watching Rome burn at this point, because there's no way you're saving it. Listen, even in sometimes complete and utter darkness, there is a light, and that's you. It's like some Kingdom Hearts gimmick or lore. What I've realized in modern gaming, and not just modern game companies' attitudes and business practices, is I have come to love older games more. The games that I missed out on that I didn't think I would ever get a chance to play with modern technology. Because even retro gaming is now going up in price too, which doesn't help either. CRTs are higher. Some game consoles are a bit higher. We should not be buying a console that's 20 years old, even close to retail price. Are you out of your mind? Price gouging and the scalping has made things worse too. And it doesn't help that the availability of the Switch 2 also was hurt by that. It's awful. It's terrible. Terrible hardware. No games. No games whatsoever. And you will still buy it. You will still convince yourself that all these new games that are coming out will be so good, it's going to save the console. One step forward, two steps back, Nintendo. This is what you deserve at this point. You tolerated it so much that you didn't think you could make a change. Well, it's going to change regardless whether you like it or not, and it's going to be for the worse. Congratulations. It's not going to stagnate. It's going to get worse or it's going to get better. It's very rare that a moment in history stagnates. But anyways, like, subscribe if you like this video, me ranting about the Switch 2. I try to pour my heart into this and passionate about it, but man, it's hard to talk about modern gaming. It makes me appreciate old Nintendo more. Despite the flaws and mistakes and the poor business practices, even the marketing was enjoyable, even if it was cringe. We would like to play? Not anymore, man. Not anymore.